the two-time world champion thing, it's like, whatever, man. I was lucky, man, because I fought big name Thais once and then like slapped him in the face. And then boom, this head kick came out of nowhere. The switch happened when I went to Thailand and I saw how the Thais trained. But you can't do anything without the team. Yeah, you see each other in all states. And like how challenging was it me to cease competing? So I was supposed to fight like Saenchai in that last 2 years. MRI scan with some brain injury, some bleeding on my brain. Never had any dreams of being a fighter. I never had any dreams of being a world champion. I just, I followed my passion. But my highest like physical moment that I remember was when I beat Petchboonchu. Like you were saying, that camaraderie and that brotherhood, like they put so much into me. That's the coolest thing I've ever done in the ring, man. Yeah.
So Greg Wootton, two times world champion,
Yep,
European
yeah.
champion, and probably a multiple other accolades as well. Fought the likes of Petchboonchu, Pakon, PK Saenchai, Rungrat Sasiprapa, Panicos Youssef, and my favorite fight was Luke Turner. I love that
Mm.
fight. Um, Welcome to Beyond
Thank you.
the Fight. Obviously, the focus of the show is to talk to people that have been in the industry a long time, that have been in the fight game as fighters, and I suppose sharing their knowledge and their experience for people out there who are interested in their own capacity to whatever level that is. Um,
Mm-hmm, hmm.
and I got a whole bunch of questions. I'm not. I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Not quite at that level where I can store all those questions. I got.
Nah, no
I
way.
hope you got.
No
I hope
way.
you got a bit of time because I got like 50 odd questions, mate.
Oh yeah.
I've,
Yeah.
I've,
Personally, I would say personally, man, the two-time world champion thing, it's like whatever, man. You know what it's like. You're a
yeah,
fighter as well. It's like it's literally about who you fight and when, really, isn't it? It's like, are you fighting good fighters? Are you fighting them in their prime? And then that's kind of more important than your record. Whereas I feel like so many people get caught up with the sort of the title aspect of it.
yeah,
But now there's so many promotions and so many things there. So like, I wonder, probably same for you, but my proudest thing is just fighting good fighters, man. I fought some good fighters in their prime, and that was, that's the biggest accolade for me. It's like at one point, I was fighting some of the top people in the world and winning some, losing some, and that was, that's more than the titles for me, man.
yeah, yeah.
Personally.
I didn't get that opportunity myself to really fight the higher level guys, but obviously
Mm.
just the experience of fighting was significant enough. But I would say for me personally, like the winning of titles definitely helped me in my career. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
if I
does.
just yeah, I think if I'd just been that
Yeah,
guy that was just a fighter, I don't think I would have had the capacity to open up multiple gyms and,
gyms.
and have
Yeah,
the opportunities that I did through the accolades that I won, But
yeah. But you were fighting Belarusians and Russians and a lot of they're
yeah,
they're good, man. Yeah,
yeah,
they're good fighters out there.
yeah. But I wasn't fighting the likes of Pakon.
Yeah, but sometimes with the ties and stuff, I was lucky, man, because I fought big name ties. Whereas, if I had been living in Thailand and fighting regularly, like some of the top foreigners, like Onion Topic, the American, he's losing regularly, but he's fighting bit like very, very good level stadium guys who don't have a big name in the West. So, I would say I was kind of lucky to fight some bigger names. Whereas I could lose to like really, there's so many good fighters out there. Same with like Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan. There's some good people who just don't have any profile because they
Mm.
don't have the same opportunities. So it's like it is, yeah. For me anyway, like if you're fighting good people, you're fighting good people, man. It don't matter.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to go
Yeah,
back to the beginning if I could, man. Like, like
yeah, yeah.
we all started somewhere. So, like, what pivotal experience in your life that led you to pursue Muay Thai, and how old was you?
Mm. I was 14. I was around 14, and I stopped playing football. So I used to love football, man. The beautiful game. I used to love it, and I played it from like 3 or something until 14. I was a centre back. So I wasn't that good on the ball, but I was good off the ball. You know what I mean? Like, I was good in the air. I was good in the slide tackles and like just a hard worker kind of thing. But I didn't used to like the team sport so much. So I kind of fell out of love with football when I was trying to keep fit and things. And then I had this friend at school, and this guy was he was my main inspiration for Muay Thai. So he was called Mohammed Masood, and he was an Afghan boy that was an asylum seeker in the UK, and he was sent there by his family for his own protection because his dad had gone missing, probably by the Taliban or something. But he could the only English he could speak was speaking to American and English soldiers in Kabul and Afghanistan. So he came over and was like a Taekwondo fighter. So Taekwondo, I'd done a little bit when I was younger, and I didn't really like it so much because it was a lot of like patterns and katas and like it was really good discipline, a lot of kicking in the air, a lot of kicking in the pads, and I didn't really see the practical application of it. I felt like with Taekwondo, I needed to be doing it for 15 years before I could like take care of myself. And then I met this guy, Mohammed, and he was disciplined. He studied hard. He wanted to be a doctor and go to Oxbridge, like Oxford or Cambridge. And then, I became friends with him. We used to sit next to each other in maths. And then he was just disciplined, man. He was cool. He was real focused. And then one time, one of the other boys started like messing around with him, tried like doing some dance, and then like slapped him in the face. And then boom, this head kick came out of nowhere, just like no warm up, nothing, like tish. And I was like, oh geez, what is this? And I started talking to him about his training, and he started telling me like how long he'd been doing it. And then we started training together. We used to go running, and then we'd stretch and do body conditioning. So we used to like punch each other in the stomach and kicks and things. And he was tough, man. He was tough. Like basically, we used to do this drill where you punch each other in the stomach until you can't take it anymore, and then you kick each other in the stomach until you can't take it anymore, and then you back kick each other. Like so. Anyway, he but because he was so disciplined and he was so focused and he had this sort of life skill, when I was playing football, I had this social status of being on the school football team and things. And it just he inspired me really. I wanted to put my energies into something that was going to give more back. And then another friend was doing Muay Thai like a community center nearby. So I started going there, and then I met Damon Faulkner, Sing Diet Gym.
Yeah.
And Damon is a wicked coach, man. He was my first coach for the first few months. And really like he teaches Muay Thai really well. He's got a gym in Thailand now, and he loves it, and he's a really good coach, good fighter, good dude, man. So he introduced me to it, and then I went to the main gym KO, and then I just thought I started training more and more, and then had my first little inter club, and then I never planned on being a fighter, but slowly it just kind of takes over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What age was you when you first started competing in like and
I think I started at like 15, just before I was 16, and then I had my first inter club like 3 months later or something, 3 or 4 months later. Like my coach Bill Judd was a bit old school, man. He was just like he just told me I was fighting. Like the first 6 months, he didn't even know my name, innit? And then I had a fight, I did all right, and then he thought I was called Grant. He called me Grant for the next 6 months. So he just told me, "Yeah, you're fighting on Saturday," and I was like, "All right, let's see what happens." And I like the focus it brought though. So every fight was an opportunity to really focus in and like dial in your training, to train hard, to learn stuff, to thing, and you progressed way quicker. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Yeah.
because obviously, like you said, you I didn't know that you trained at Sing Diet before KO Gym, but I know that you didn't live in Bethnal Green or near Bethnal Green, and so
Mm.
can you explain a bit about the commitment that was involved in that? 'Cause
Yeah.
you developed a passion for the Muay Thai, but you traveled day in, day out to go and commit to Muay Thai. As far as I remember, you lived on one side of London and you traveled pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I started with Damon, and at the time he was fighting. He was one of the fighters at KO. So he was only doing a class once a week, and sometimes he couldn't do it, so it wasn't always every week. But I would go there, and then he saw that I was interested, and he was like, "Hey, you should come to the main gym sometime, and you can train. It's a full-time gym, right?" So then me and my friend Adam, we traveled to Bethnal Green, and so I grew up in Acton in West London, like Acton, Shepherd's Bush, Ealing area, and there wasn't really any gyms around me at the time. So I started traveling over to Bethnal Green. We get on the Central Line. It was like 17 stops, and then you get off, and it's a little 10-minute walk. But it took like an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes to get there. And then for me and my friend, it was exciting, we'd never really left the area much, really. So we were traveling across the city, and we go to this gym, and then I loved it when I walked in, because there was like big men fighting, sparring women, this person sparring that person. Like, it was all different, like cultures, classes, sizes, and everyone was like, it was good coaching, man. It was like, all right, here's a jab, here's 3 ways of throwing it, here's 3 ways of defending it. Off you go, jab sparring. So it was very, very practical. But it was long, though. It was a long commute. It was like an hour and a half each way. So it's like 3 hours. But when you're a kid, you don't really have anything else to do. So I used to go there once or twice a week for the first bit, and then I started going 3 times, then 4 times. Then I had a little winter club, and I started training four or 5 times. And then the switch happened when I went to Thailand, and I saw how the Thais trained. So I went there on my gap year when I was 18, turning 19, and I went and fought at the IFMA World Championships over there. I think I lost in like the second round to Belarus. It was a close fight, but and then I stayed there for like as long as I could. Really, I worked in Marks and Spencer's supermarket before, saving money for the trip, and then I lived there for like 7 months at Kiat Pontip. So Kiat Pontip's John Pop Kiat Pontip has his gym in Leeds, but I was staying with Rob Cox and his sister Miss Tar, and they had the gym in Bangkok. So before he opened up the one in Leeds there. So I was over there, and I had about 5 or so fights there, which are good. And I learned a lot. But also, in Thailand, it's the 3-hour training in the morning, or 2 and a bit hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. So I really started learning how hard people train and how much to put in and stuff there.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I don't know why my parents let me train that much, man. Or
I've got
let me travel so far.
a question about that later on.
Yeah, yeah.
You answered that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you trained at Cal Pontip actually. I mean,
Yeah.
I went there once, and obviously Jesse, who I interviewed last week, he also has a question for you later on in the interview. But yeah, obviously he trains at Cal Pontip with Rob Cox as well. He's obviously got a very strong influence in the sport, especially at the moment with one championship and stuff like that. So, like at that time when I sort of towards the end of it, I was competing and just sort of building up towards you were sort of just becoming the big name kind of thing. And the people at the time, you came from that generation of I felt KO was the dominating gym at that specific time, which would be what, 2010 kind of around there, just years prior to that, and going forward from there before, other gyms like Team Chew and stuff like that started evolving, and Kieran Kettle, and his gym and stuff like that started sort of became big gyms as well. But you came from a generation where there was like Phuket, Ash Yudin, Sack, Paul Murat, and there's probably a few other names there that I'm not.
Yeah.
Richmond.
Anna, we had Anna Zucchelli. Yeah, Richmond. We had Richmond, Abdul, Leon. And then there was a few people sort of retiring when I was coming up, so I was a part of the next generation. And David was coming towards it. It was really good timing for me, to be honest, because David was coming towards the end of his career, fighting for world titles, and he kind of took me under his wing, which is you hear about this, like say with Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes, you know, these good champions in the prime of their careers or twilight years, bringing in young sparring partners and taking them under their wing. And that was really what happened with me and David Paquette. So got a lot of love for David, man. He's a great human and he's an awesome coach. And he taught me a lot. Some hard lessons, man. He beat me up good. He beat me up good.
I've heard,
But he
I've
taught
heard,
me a lot.
I've heard a few
Yeah.
rumors about training with Dave. Yeah, he, it's tough love kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. He was good, man. He was really good at the mind stuff. So he's now like an NLP master practitioner as well. So that's a whole branch of psychology there. But before he ever did any of training of that, he was always really good at training you and building confidence within fighters and then building also pushing them to their limits in a safe, supportive way. So like he
Mm.
was awesome for that, man. Yeah. And then also like obviously techniques, great mentality. But then what was so good for me was like sparring with him while he was getting ready for like high level fights and seeing his work ethic. So then I knew how to train at a high level, even though I was at a lower level. So that was cool, man. And then also David is solid, man. He's just like a fit guy, man. Powerful hitter and things. So it was hard work sparring him. Even trying to move him on the pads, you're hitting the pads as hard as you can. He's not moving at all. Yeah.
And that's saying something because you hit pretty hard. So I can I've held pads for you, so I know what it feels like. So yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, being part of such a big, strong team, how important was it to you that, and how would you define the relationships that you had, and what did it mean to you, like, as the whole team of guys that were there?
Mm. Um, you know, like in hindsight, I would say they are almost more important than the results. Um, so like the wins or losses are, you know, they're great, but it's you can't do anything without the team. Like I couldn't prepare for fights without sparring partners, without pad holders, without thing. And we trained each other, and I was you know, part of a new generation coming up in the gym, and we were training. We were hungry. We were so like what made it really successful was we kind of fed off each other's hunger. Like I got this one friend, Abdul, and Abdul is a he's an animal, man. He used to train like 3 times a day, sometimes 4 times a day, and it was a competition of who could train more. So we were like friendly with it, good competition. But I remember when I came back from Thailand, him and Richmond had just stepped up their game, and then I came back, and they were sort of setting a culture and a precedent. So everybody was training really hard. So you look to your left, and when you're in classes, they're pushing it hard, and we were all sort of fighting at the same time. So it was a really good thing about it kind of takes away the pressure on you. So because they're fighting as well, you fight, they fight, you fight, they fight, you fight, they fight, and we were all sort of building up together. But it was the culture of the club really. It's very difficult to be the sole fighter there in your gym. So when you're around people there, you're more motivated there, and you're pushing each other in friendly competition as well.
Mm. I mean, from my experience, it was, you know, like, I was quite fortunate as well when I was training at the Cobra gym. There was 6 or 7 of us actively training together, and it was almost like a brotherhood and belonging to something ultimately bigger than yourself. Um,
Yeah,
you find it the same kind of way as like a
yeah,
family, right? In
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, no, I would say definitely, man. Like some of my, you know, some of those guys are my best friends. But also, what's special about it is when you're committed to something, when you're so committed to something, you turn up, and you know sometimes you see people at their best when they're winning fights, and you see people at their worst when they're like having a breakdown in training or struggling to cut weight or getting sick, but they still calm. And so you literally see people, and the only other people that you see like that are either your family members or your romantic partner. So you have a special bond, and you see each other in all states, and you're all committed to this thing, man, which is which is powerful. Like when you all have that commitment. So I think it's, yeah, I totally agree. It's a real like brotherhood and camaraderie, and um, it's a special bond that gets created.
Mm.
Mm. I can imagine it being the same for soldiers, really. Like they go through an experience. Yeah, I can imagine it being the same sort of bonding experience, going through the hard training, going through the thing, and
But
yeah.
funny because that's actually part of my next question. Because from my own experience, like to give an analogy, giving up competition is akin to a soldier returning from war and having to conform to a norm and not having the purpose to fight anymore. You know, like to relinquish
Mm,
all part of their identity, losing that validation that they derive from fighting and being part of a team, and facing an overwhelming sense of directionlessness. You know, like not knowing where to go.
mm.
You know, like how challenging was it for you to cease competing and ultimately led you to make that decision?
Um, it's a good, really good question, man. A really good question. Like, how challenging was it me to cease competing? To be honest, I sort of, it was becoming very unsustainable. So I think the hardest thing with Muay Thai was to keep fighting because it wasn't really making any money from it. In order to be training as much as I needed to be competing with some of the best in the world, I had to be training twice a day, 6 days a week. And then I needed to have flexible schedule. So I started personal training and coaching and stuff. So you're in the gym and like you're in the gym a lot. You don't get paid so much for fights. You're trying to make money. So like it's difficult. And then I was fortunate enough, I lived at home for quite a long time. And then I moved in with my brother into a flat, and I don't have to pay massive rent. But any other fighters that come to London or an expensive city, they've got to pay their rent unless they have a career set up. Especially if you want to fight, you've got to pay your rent. You've got to have enough time to train. You've got to have enough time to rest. You can't have too physical a job. You got to get good sleep. All of these things, which is difficult to do in an expensive city. So for me, it just became unsustainable. Like cutting the weight became really difficult because I started fighting at 140 pounds, 63 kilos or whatever when I was 16, and I was still fighting at that weight at 25, but I'd grown into a bit more of a man and I'd put on more muscle, so it was really hard to keep like going down there. So the weight cuts were becoming unsustainable. My coach Bill had cancer, so he didn't really train me the last few years. He couldn't really train me that much the last few years I was fighting. And David, he had a business and he was thing, so he was training me once a week or so. And then I was getting trained by my friends, which was awesome, and my training partners. But they weren't making any money off it, so they were doing it for the love and the passion. So it wasn't really going to last. And then I had a few big fights that got cancelled. So the last couple of years, I had like 4 fights. Like 2 times my opponents got injured or whatever. 2 times I got injured. So I was supposed to fight like Saenchai in that last 2 years. I was supposed to fight Liam Harrison. I was supposed to fight Tetsuya Yamamoto in America on the Lion fight title. And the sort of the icing on the cake was I was going to fight Saenchai, and I trained the hardest I could, obviously, because you're fighting Saenchai, isn't it? And I bruised my rib, and I couldn't get out of bed, and it's like it might as well have been broken because I think it would have healed faster, but it was just like a nasty bone bruise or something. And then the next fight, I was supposed to fight Tetsuya Yamamoto, and I failed an MRI scan with some brain injury, some bleeding on my brain. And then I just thought the universe was trying to tell me something, man. It was like, listen, I think you gotta because it was becoming unsustainable. I wasn't happy. I was struggling to make weight. I wasn't making much money. My team they couldn't up maintain training me as much. So I previously, like a year or so ago, I said to myself, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to put 100%. I'm going to do everything I can, see nutritionists, get physiotherapy for injuries. I'm going to, dedicate everything I have to this. But all of these factors, I lived far from the gym. It took an hour and a half to get there, an hour and a half to get home. Then I had a relationship I was trying to start to keep up. And if you're not making money and you're not happy and you're injured and your health is getting risks, it's like, man, I got to call it a day. But I was happy, I didn't have any regrets because I gave it my all. I tried, I tried to be as good as I could be, and I tried to fight as many of the best fighters I could, and I tried to take all the opportunities when they came and stuff. So I don't have any regrets. It would have been nice if, a few of those big fights happened.
Mm.
Like, would I like to have fought Liam Harrison just because he was #1 in the country for a long time? Would have liked to have fought Saenchai because he's the best in the world, so yeah.
Yeah.
But no regrets though, man.
Do you miss
Yeah.
fighting at all?
Do you know, sometimes I miss the rawness of it. Do you know what I mean? In sense of like you very rarely are you living life so fully in the moment with no disregard for 10 seconds time. Like you do, like when you're in there, you don't care. You don't, like, for me anyway, I didn't care about tomorrow. I didn't care about what was going to happen to me. I didn't care about pain or this and that. I was just like going for this, whatever. So that level of purity was really, I miss that sometimes, just being so focused and so dedicated there. But generally, no. Generally, no. Generally, no.
Yeah.
I don't miss training when you're tired, dragging yourself up, being exhausted all the time, cutting weight, all the nerves, the anxiety, the stress, like all of that stuff that was not fun. Yeah, I don't think to be honest, man, I don't think I enjoyed it that much anyway. Like I spent half that 10 years when I was fighting, I was like stressed, I was tired, I was thinking, obviously you have these peaks, these high peaks in life, but the rest of it is just exhausting. You're lonely. For me, I was traveling all around the city, teaching this place, teaching this place. I was by myself a lot. Like, yeah.
No, I can relate to the exhaustion side, especially when you're a personal trainer and you're fighting, because obviously the job's very
Yeah,
physical as well. It's very demanding on the body.
yeah.
What was your defining and proudest moment as a fighter?
Um, Proudest moment. Mm.
It only seems right I should take this opportunity to promote some of the things that I do. One of the things I do is I run a gym. I've been running for just around 5 years now, Circulate Fitness, which is based in Battersea. We run a Thai boxing and kickboxing inspired HIIT class. The classes run for 50 minutes. We've got roughly 5 to 6 classes a day. We have classes at the weekend as well. You can find us on ClassPass. And we're very competitive in regards to our class fees. We offer packs and even a membership if you want to go down that route. We also run traditional Muay Thai classes. We do that 4 times a week, and we have a boxing class as well. So check out circulatefitness.com for all the details, but the link's also going to be in the description of the show. Thanks, and back to Jesse.
Proudest moment. Honestly, I think I'm most proud just to have gone for it, man. Just to have like tried, you know. In hindsight, I would have done things differently, and I would have done things better, and I would have done things smarter. But at the time, whatever I knew at the time, I was trying to do. And similar like you, man. Like never had any dreams of being a fighter. I never had any dreams of being a world champion. I just, I followed my passion, and I'm fortunate enough that my parents let me do it. I don't know why they did, but I'm fortunate enough to let my parents let me follow it. And then I'm proud to say, yeah, I tried to fight some of the best people in the world, and I went in there with wore my heart on my sleeve every time and stuff. But my highest like physical moment that I remember was when I beat Petchboonchu. So I lost 2 times before that. I got knocked out by this Dutch boy. This Dutch guy who was good, Christian Bayer. He was a lot heavier. He was 2 or 3 weight classes above, but I just wanted to fight to get ready for my next year. He knocked me out, and then I lost to Pacorn on points, which I was annoyed about because I felt like I could have done more. And then I fought Petchboonchu, and me and my friends, we just like, they trained me so good for it. We had a wicked game plan, and I just felt good in there. I felt in a state of flow, and I didn't care anymore. Like I was like, I'm not losing 3 times in a row, man. I can't lose 3 times. And that was my mentality. And I was just like, I wasn't scared of losing anymore either. because I've been knocked out and I'm still here. I lost on points, I'm still here. I've been cut before, I've been knocked down and got up and won. Like, there wasn't really any scenarios that I was afraid of. So I felt good in that one. And then the highlight though was when I won. I look back at the video, seeing my friends celebrating, like, because we won, because it wasn't like me. It was like a whole gym thing. Like you were saying, that camaraderie and that brotherhood, like they put so much into me. All my coaches, like David, these guys, they put so much into me that when we had won, didn't it? We'd beaten one of the best in Thailand and things, the most, or the most decorated of all time in Thailand and stuff. So that was the peak, man. Just celebrating with them, really. Yeah.
suppose it's like you said, it's not about the titles, it's about who you fight, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
said, he was one of the greatest of all time. So I remember you catch his
yeah,
leg, got on the rope and caught it.
yeah.
It was beautiful, man.
That's the coolest thing I've ever done in the ring, man. Yeah, yeah, that's the coolest thing.
It was cool, man. How would you define your fighting, your style of fighting, like in Muay Thai?
Yeah. I would say, I was a bit of more of a pressure fighter. I like to move forward. I was a bit unorthodox, so I wasn't the classic Thai style. I used to switch stance. I like switching stance. I'd be coming in lots of teeps, lots of angles, um, uppercuts, like a bit, yeah, so a bit unorthodox um, pressure fighter, I would say. Yeah, and I used to be really fit, so I used to get as fit as I could, so I could keep up high work rate. So a high work rate pressure fighter. Yeah.
And you kind of touched on it already, but who would you have wished the opportunity to have fight? I mean, obviously you had Liam Harrison, you had the opportunity Saenchai, but obviously circumstances. Was there anyone else that was in the kind of the
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, I think there was Liam, just because he was the best in the UK from when I started. So it was like it would have been I slowly worked my way up to rankings and it got that fight. Would have been good to test myself against him, and then Saenchai would have been good to fight him. Then the American Kevin Ross, he's a friend of mine now. Would have been cool to fight him because he was always in exciting fights.
Mm.
Tetsuya Yamamoto is well, the one that never happened. He was a real elbow specialist, like very aggressive style. So that would have been cool because I like people that come forward as well. But other fighters, I would have liked to have fought. There was a fighter called Sagadao. I would have liked to have fought Nongo because when I lived in Thailand, Nongo was smashing it. There was like Singdam as well. He was real good. Um, still is, but like they were at the top at the time. And then who else? Yeah, I just would have liked to have fought a few of those top ties. Really, I wasn't too interested in the kickboxing scene as well. Like um, Petrosian and those guys were a bigger weight and stuff. I was back then. I was much more focused on just straight Muay Thai 5 round fights.
What's your thoughts
Mm.
on one championship at the moment?
Yeah, undeniably, it's amazing what they're doing, man. They're bringing so much eyes. They're making people, superstars. They bring in so much spotlight onto the sport, which is awesome. People are making more money. Still not probably as much as they deserve, but they're making more money. Um, so that's all of that is sick. All of that is awesome, man. I think the small gloves, I'm not a fan. I'm seeing things from a fighter's perspective, but I'm not a fan of the smaller gloves so much. I feel like it's making the fights more of a less technical and more of a brawl. So whoever gets the first big clean shot first. So the fighters are not focused on so much technique. They're just going for knockouts because they get the bonus as well. And then also, I'm not really a fan of like blood and guts and stuff, man. So I don't enjoy seeing fighters get their face split open and their thing there. And I'm more of a fan of like technical display and beauty and outthinking and outsmart. And if knockouts happen, then they happen. But I don't really like these just like slugfest and brawls and the small gloves are like damaging people. So I think, yeah, man, I think overall it needs to happen. But the slight changes of the sport, you know, not necessarily my preferred way, but I still watch it. Yeah, I still love it. I still watch it a lot. Yeah.
We obviously with fighting comes injuries and that. How did you deal with and how did you manage your recovery?
I think being younger, when I was younger, you didn't need to deal with it as much. Yeah, you just limp home and then heals itself and like thing. But getting older, this is one thing I could have done a lot better. I think I could have done a lot more like better prehab or like strengthening. My strength and conditioning could have prepared my body more for the forces that were undergoing it. Whereas I didn't really know what I was doing as much. I went to university and did sports science. I was applying a lot of that, but it would have been awesome to have like a lot of the fighters now have like a really good S&C coach who, you know, like strengthens their shoulders. If they have an injury, rehabs them properly from their injury to make a full recovery and deals with muscular imbalances and all of that stuff. So that would have been good. But at the time, I just did what I could. You know, if I was really injured, I didn't have a lot of money back then. So if I was really injured, I'd go see a physio, physiotherapist to heal up and stuff. But otherwise, I just try and ice it and stretch and things there. And um, I'm still, to be fair, though, I didn't have any serious. Actually, no, I did have a few bad ones. You know, like a lot of elbow like infections. I had a few infections in my elbow that put me in hospital. Like broke my nose more times than I realized and things. And cuts, all right. They're not, you know, they're just some stitches and things. Um, but you know, I think I could have been a bit smarter with resting a bit more and avoiding a lot of those injuries rather than just overuse and like pushing forward and going there. Yeah. But now we're paying for it though, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Now we're
yeah.
paying.
Tell me about it. The hip, the back, the neck.
Yeah, yeah. What it is to be young, isn't it? You never think about it doing it older, but
Mm.
for me now, it's catching up with me, man. Yeah. That's why I've got a lot of respect for the guys who are in there, you know, have been Liam Harrison been fighting for so long. I'm
Mm.
like, how does his body feel when he wakes up in the morning, man? He's had like over 100 and something fights, man.
I don't know.
Saenchai, like, but I think genetically different people are gifted in different ways, isn't it?
Mm.
And so
Yeah, I don't think you can walk away from this sport unscathed if you've been in it a long time. One
uh,
way or another, the trauma to the body from the striking is going to have some kind of profound effect as you get older.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What would your advice be to someone contemplating a career in competitive fighting? Like
Mm.
young guys out there that may be listening and sort of like,
I would I think I would do a couple things. I would also like I think it would be great if they have a coach who's very aware of the business side of things. So like you need to survive as well. So if you're fighting, might want to pick where the money is. So you might want to move into MMA, or you might want to. Now there is one championship and things like that. You can see a route to earning more money with it, or you know you can study and have a second career, or start your second career after you finish your first. So just a bit more planning ahead, really. I would have benefited from a bit more thoughts on that. And then I think the way that you train is changing now. So we don't need to just do what the Thais do. You know, long runs in the morning and things there. Like more isn't always better. So I think I would change the way I trained. I wouldn't have done so much running and so much volume. I would have done a lot more sort of smarter conditioning. So like Don Heatrick, a lot of his posts and his things really, really good and really smart. And I think that will give you the best chance of finishing their careers with a working body and without too much. You know, you're still going to get trauma from sparring and fighting, but the overuse side of things and the ways that you know it doesn't need to happen as much. There's different ways of doing it in a more sustainable manner. So
mm.
I think the fighters now are going to benefit from that anyway. Um, so I think yeah, people are training smarter um, and just having more of a longer term mentality as well. have one of your goals, like, winning titles, winning fights, but also another goal, finishing your career with good health, no permanent injuries, if you can avoid it, and being aware of concussions as well, because hard sparring and cutting weight and things are increasing the risk of these concussions and things. So I think yeah, just a lot more foresight on those things and awareness of that, and then avoiding those pitfalls. Yeah.
Do you think that the rules should change in regards to regulations around fighting? I mean, obviously, when you come to America and you compete in America, you have an official literally following you around everywhere. You have to go and get your medics done, your teeth checked, your brain checked. You have
Yeah.
to do these tests in order to be able to fight.
Yeah.
Whereas I've fought on a show once where the doctor was a vet. It's like,
Yeah.
you got a pulse, off you go. You're good to go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
do you think the regulations? I mean, I know they are tightening up now. Now, like some of the medics on the show now, you get pre and post medicals now at shows in the UK, which I think is a great thing. But
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
think they could be even more? What are your thoughts around that? Because obviously, it was discovered with yourself in a lion fight that you had the scan, and that's where you discovered the bleed on the brain, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, I think there needs to be stricter awareness and probably some educational courses around concussions. So coaches should know what symptoms are, and they should be aware of things. They should know how to look after their guys if once they get knocked out or if they get knocked down, because that's a concussion there. And they should know that, because I remember watching one fight not too long ago. Um, and the guy got knocked down like every round. So it was like 4 or 5 knockdowns. And the compounding effect of that is huge. So it's like you get knocked down once, that's two. You get knocked down again, that's another two, but it doesn't equal 4, it equals 8. You get knocked down again, now it's 16. You get knocked down again, it's huge. So it's like the compounding effect of these things coaches should be aware of. So I think the way in which we train and like a hard spar, they should be aware of that. How to look after it, like if you're seeing any symptoms of concussion, how to look after your fighters a bit better. And then, yeah, medical testing. It's a double-edged sword because since I've been in America, there's less grassroots involvement. So you can't just do interclubs here. They're banned. You they do something called PKBs, which is like you fight on a mat. It's not in a ring. But it's just harder to get into Muay Thai because you need to have these medical tests which cost a lot of money. Um, the sanctioning bodies have all these trained officials and stuff, but then they don't put on many shows. So there's less shows happening because it costs more for promoters to put on shows. It costs more for fighters to do it. And then it's an expensive country, so fighters have to work hard. So there's a few factors which make more medical testing, which overall is a good thing. It makes less participation because we can have it every lot of gyms have enter clubs every month in the UK, and you don't really have to do a medical for that. You need to sign a waiver and stuff. And on the whole, people are safe, but when it comes to like mid-level fighting where people are getting knocked out multiple times in their career and stuff, those are the guys that I worry about. The guys that never reach the higher promotions that do the healthcare testing, and they just get everything there. So I think there can definitely be more education from the coaches and more testing for when people are having pro fights. Yeah.
Additional to my gym in Battersea, the classes are run by an application. The application itself has over 150 free workouts, and it covers basic combinations all the way up through to more advanced stuff, all your spinning stuff, etc., your jumping kicks, your jump back kicks, your flips and everything. So on that application, I have about 2,500 different combinations, plus another additional 800 training conditioning videos, which you can download onto your iPhone. It's called Circulate Fitness. It's got 10 free workouts, and if you like it, you can subscribe and take it from there. All you need is a punch bag and a bit of equipment, and you can go for it. A lot of the workouts you'll find are just body weight. So in the class descriptions, it tells you what you need, and this is pretty much stuff that you can get anywhere. The only thing that you will need is a punch bag. So whether you have one at home or at the gym, then you're ready to go. Anyway, back to the show. So what's your, obviously you're saying about this, the sparring as well. So maybe you can talk in a sec about the uh, sparring in America. But I think obviously for myself, and I suspect with you as well, the sparring that we engaged with wasn't particularly light sparring. And sometimes you used to you used to have harder sparring than you did fights, you know. And
Yeah, yeah.
do you think the intelligence around that with coaches should be modified, where it should be more technical sparring, where it's more touch, speed, reaction, reflexes, that kind of thing, rather than trying to dig each other out and throw the big shots? Because people can go into a fight concussed from their training.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yes, I think so, man. I think there needs to be definitely a recognition that most of the injuries you're going to get will happen in sparring and preparation for fights, because you're doing way more rounds. You're doing it when you're fatigued. You're doing it with different people, different sizes. Like we always used to spar anybody. Like no matter how sparring heavyweights and stuff, and it was just sparring, innit? It wasn't like weight classified or anything, so it wasn't necessarily the safest. So I think that should change. I think coaches want to maybe there can be some guidelines. There's the problem with in the UK and the US as well. There's not a national governing body. There's not one governing body. There's several, and they all have their procedures and things there. But I think more education is a good thing. So like more courses on like how to safely run a fight camp, and like the difficulty as well is training and living in Thailand versus having a fight camp in UK or America or Europe. Because when you're in Thailand, you're training so much more. You can't hard spar so much because you won't make it through the training camp, and also you got to save the fight for the fight, and also you're fighting so regularly. There's more opportunities to fight that you don't need to spar hard because you have a fight 1 month, you have a fight the next month. You're not that rusty.
Mm.
Whereas in the UK, you have 3, 4 fights a year. You need to have some harder sparring to get you ready for those fights. So I do think it's necessary to a certain degree, but it needs to be done in a controlled manner. And you shouldn't be hard sparring one day and then sparring again the next day. Like it should be hard. Like if you do hard spar, you have a few days of like technical sparring, like or technical drills and pads and things before you spar again, because that's when the concussions and the compounding effect and stuff happens there. So just like the awareness of the coaches and what they're getting people doing and things will be, yeah, that would be good.
Um, you spoke earlier a bit about the weight cutting, but how did you lose the weight? I've seen some. I mean, I've seen some of the pictures of you uh, pre-fight and post-fight. Obviously, I know you post-fight as well, and like you said, you're not exactly a small guy. And as you said, if you were 16 fighting at 63, and then as an adult 10 years later still fighting at that same weight, uh, it must be daunting, because I mean I kind of used to fight at my walk around weight, which, because like which was probably to my detriment, in fairness. And I remember when I just finished competing, like just that's it, I'm done, I'm retired, I can't do no more. And actually I lost to a KO boy, and I can't remember his name. Um and
Yeah, yeah.
eh?
I remember. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Bazza, yeah.
Stop
Well,
me.
he's a tricky one, man. He was
Very
a tricky
tricky.
guy,
Yeah,
real tricky, man.
yeah.
Very unorthodox. Yeah,
He cut me bad with a I walked straight into the elbow. Uh,
crazy.
yeah, he was not my defining moment. And afterwards, I was like, "That's it, I'm done." But a few weeks later, Bill come in. He's like, "Hey, I've got Matt. Do you wanna fight? I've got this young guy, Greg Wootton." I'm like, "No, I'm
Uh,
retired." You have no idea how happy I am that I retired at that moment. And
yeah,
I said, "Yeah, I'm up for that."
yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I because I think it was when we stand next to each other, I have a bigger frame and I'm taller and things there. So I think, me doing that weight cut, although it was, it's easier when I was younger, it gave me an advantage. And like, I feel like weight cutting, if you have a body that some people aren't as good at doing it, some genetically and things there, but if you can do it and if you're mentally strong enough to do it, it gives you an advantage. But I think for you, man, you could have been fighting way lighter and probably would have had more success as well.
Yeah,
Because
I
if
mean,
you're walking, yeah,
yeah, I mean, I was walking around at a light weight, and I didn't really understand the process of cutting weight. And I mean, no disrespect to my coach, but he wasn't really that clued up on it either. And so none of us really were fighting at much. We were mostly walking around at our fight weight kind of guy, and then we would go up and
mm.
fight some guys up north and be looking at it like that guy looks massive. And like, go, are you sure? Because he looks much bigger than me.
yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah,
and he was,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So yeah, it was a bit daunting. So
Mm.
final quick ad on July the 6th, this year, obviously, at the Queen Mother Sports Centre in Victoria, London, we are holding an N-class event. So that's like novice level. Muay Thai, kickboxing, K1 and boxing. And that's going to be starting at 12 and running through till 6:30. So if you want to come and support, or if you're a gym or a club or a fighter and you're interested in participating, if you'd like to put your name forward, please get in touch. The details are in the description below. All right, thanks a lot, guys. So just going on to coaching, what motivated you to transition to coaching? Was it just organically, or did it just happen organically?
Um, yeah, quite organically, to be honest. Yeah. I think when I was still quite young, 16 or 17, my granddad like bought me some pads and a body belt for like my birthday one year or something. He asked me what I wanted. I said I want some pads and a body belt. And then I started training people then and started making money, and more money than I would have made doing a regular job per hour or whatever. So that was like my start of it. And I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed meeting people. And when you're training in Muay Thai gyms, you're always pad holding and stuff, so you're picking up this skill. And then full time, I went into coaching, or I started coaching quite young as well. So the culture I'm not sure if it's the same anymore, but the culture in the gym when I was sort of learning was that the people who are keen on it, and the more experienced fighters would start to lead the warm-ups, and they would start to teach the basics to the beginners and thing, and you would help the coach while they're coaching, kind of thing. So I started doing that, like, and Bill had me start doing that, and it was a way of giving back to the gym, and it was a way of learning. But also, when you're coaching, it forces you to think about things in a different way. So you're forced to um, you're forced to sort of analyze techniques, and it makes you better. But then I was enjoying it, and I was coaching more and more just to like make money while I was doing things there and get by. And then when I stopped, when I finished university, about I was 22, 23. Um, I started coaching full time and personal training full time because I just wanted to pursue my fighting as much as I could. And that allowed me the most amount of freedom and flexibility to make my own schedule and, make the most amount of money I could per hour and things there.
Mm.
So that's what I did. And then, I still enjoy my job. I still enjoy it. It's great. You meet some awesome people, and you get to really sort of help people on their way and introduce something that's changed my life and changed your life, and you introduce it to other people, and hopefully if you introduce it well enough, it changes their life in a positive way too.
Mm.
But so yeah, that's been the sort of journey there. And then you never know where things go, so like with that coaching and with my sort of fight experience, and then with my degree, I started doing some corporate coaching, and we were I co-founded this company that was going to corporate companies like mostly PwC, the accountancy firm, and we would teach them high performance mindset stuff. So it would be like applying athletic mindset things to the corporate environment through teaching them about Muay Thai and getting them to hit pads, and they love it. They love it. So that was another little money maker, and then seminars and things, and so just different ways of harnessing all the skills. Because to be a fighter and stuff, you're really good at this as well, man. You just like knowing how to transform the body, knowing how to train in multiple ways. Like there's so much knowledge that goes into things, and how to prepare mentally. Like most of the time, your clients, it's not just a physical session. You also you're what they're learning in those physical sessions, they can apply to their lives and things there. So we can dumb it down and just call it whacking the pads and letting off steam there, but there's so many things to it. Without labeling ourselves as life coaches or whatever, the people take so much from martial arts that it makes it, it's so enjoyable as a job. It's really satisfying. You really feel like you've made a difference and impact on people, as opposed to like, some people have jobs that they never see the positive impact affecting anybody. So they're like a cog in a machine, but they never get to see the output. Whereas we directly get to see the output, and that feels good. To see people improve, to see them lose weight, to get happier, more confident, stronger mindset, more resilient, all through training. Yeah.
And obviously, like, how many years it go now since you moved to Los Angeles? Because something took you to Los Angeles. I don't know if you want to discuss that, but and obviously that transpired and changed, and and you're still there. And
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to tell us a bit about your story.
Yeah. No, sure, man. Yeah, I've been here 4.5 years now. And I moved with my ex-girlfriend originally. She had, so my ex-girlfriend, her family were from California, or were living there. So she wanted to move. She wasn't happy in London anymore. And I'd always, liked the idea of moving out of London for an extended period of time, because I feel like when you only ever live in one city or one place, the world revolves. That's the axis point at which the world revolves. But every city, every place around the world is people who think that is the center of our universe, isn't it? So I kind of wanted to have this different perspective, and I never would have picked America, to be honest. Like I never would have picked America or LA but fortunately enough, I'd done enough with Muay Thai to get a visa. And you helped me out with that, man, connecting me with lawyers and stuff. And I saved up enough money to pay the lawyers. It's all quite a pricey thing. And then I came out here just before the pandemic, so it was a weird time. And it was, you learn a lot about yourself when you leave where you're from, and you also learn a lot about where you're from when you leave there. So what is all the stereotypes about being British and my family, and you go through this process of sort of like reflecting back on your own life. So it was useful in that sense. And then I just enjoy it a bit more here, man. I enjoyed, like, the weather makes it easier to be happy. That's a big one. The weather makes it easier to be happy. There's beautiful plants around. There's amazing sunsets really every day. Nature is way more accessible. I'm not overlooked, like, because it's only the downtown in LA. Downtown is where the big buildings are and stuff, skyscrapers or tower blocks and things. But most of the time it's like small 1 or 2 story buildings, so you feel this sense of space. And then the beach is always there, the mountains are there, and it's a different energy than London. So I find it easier to be happy here, man. And I never thought I would, actually, because I don't really like a lot of American culture that is consumerist American culture that's spread around the globe. But there's so much more to it than that, and that's that's a stereotype. And also British people, I think we love to hate, man. We love to hate.
We love a good moan.
We love a moan. We love to hate. We love to shoot people down, and that'll never work. That'll never work. Da 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 da.
It'll be back.
Yeah.
Whereas America. Tell us about where you're working at the moment, then, because obviously, like, you were when you went there, you had a visa to work in one place where you're not there anymore, and now
Yeah,
I'm assuming you're in somewhere where you feel a lot more content and a lot more happy.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so my first visa was quite restrictive. It was attached to one gym where the business owner, he sort of turned it into a private members club, and there wasn't many members, and no one really cared about Muay Thai, and no one really trained very hard. So that wasn't fun. Yeah, that wasn't fun, man. I was felt very isolated, no one really to train with, and there was a couple cool people there, but you know, a lot of people, it was just they didn't care about Muay Thai and they didn't understand it and stuff. So that was difficult. That was 3 years as well, man. So that was a challenging 3 years with work wise, and I felt like I took several steps back in my career, like opportunities wise and where I was at and financially making money to start again. It really like puts you 4 or 5 steps back. And then there was a global pandemic as well, which also puts the fitness industry back. But now my friend out here, Nathan Foster, he's opened the gym with his wife, so I'm coaching there, and we're cool, man. It's been open a year now, so we've just been building up clients in there, and it's a nice environment. Um, he's getting some top trainers in. He's doing regular seminars here and stuff. We got like some couple good ties. So surrounding myself with people who love Muay Thai, and it's really reinvigorated my passion for it.
Mm.
Whereas before I was by myself, sort of just like isolated and not really having then much inspiration around. Um, so it's a much better place, much healthier place to be. Mm.
What's the name of the gym? So just in case anyone's
Oh
listening,
yeah,
I
so
want to
yeah,
go and
yeah,
train with this guy.
yeah. Left hand Muay Thai. Yeah, left hand Muay Thai.
And it's in LA, right?
Um, Yeah, in just in Valley Village area. So just over the hill from Hollywood, Valley Village. Yeah.
Nice. So I know we're running short on time because you've obviously just you told me not so long ago, but I have a few questions. A few of them you've all I put out some messages saying, "Hey, anyone got any questions for Greg?" So Jesse Saunders came back and he's like, which you've already kind of touched on, which he asked about the Liam Harrison fight never happening, and how you felt and how you fared you would have done with that, and if you come back, will you come
Mm.
work at Shin Kick?
Oh, nice. Yeah, I got a lot of time for Jesse, man. Jesse, I fought on a few of his shows, and when I was at Cap on Tip, one of his guys, Ali Makoni, who's now one of the coaches at One Championship, Ali was out there, and he's pretty much full time in Thailand now, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, back when we were teenagers. But how the Liam Harrison fight? Yeah, I was really disappointed it didn't happen. I had a very hard training camp for it, and I had an injury, so I struggled to like run and cut weight. And then I went to France and I trained at a gym there called Nasa K Gym. Nasa K Gym was full of very tough fighters. It had several of Liam's, several people that had fought Liam already, so they were old opponents, so they were familiar with him, so they were helping me prepare with some good sparring, hard sparring. So I went there and I trained with like Hussein Benoui, Johan Lidon, and Chris Basuku and Dylan Salvador and things. So like some good names at the time. And it didn't happen. I think Liam had some issues with, I think he got a kidney infection or something while he was cutting weight or whatever. But how do I think it would have gone? I'm not too sure, to be honest. I backed myself. I'll always back myself. I think I would have either like won on points or maybe got a cuttage, or he would have stopped me with a low kick or knocked me out with a left hook or something. Like I don't know. I don't know necessarily, and uh, I'm not really going to ruminate. It didn't happen, so it didn't happen. But either yeah, he would have chopped my leg to pieces or knocked me out with a left hook, or I would have probably like been too awkward and long and rangy and won on points maybe. But I don't know. Yeah, but it would have been nice. And then if I come back, will I work at Shin Kick? Move to Woking? Yeah, yeah. Why not? Why not?
Sunny Woking.
Yeah,
Got great sunsets there.
yeah.
So the next question is from our dear friend Sensei Crew Ajan, aka Neil Dunn. He knows
Yes.
he's more of a joke when he knows you was a two-time world champion. But what heights do you think you could have reached if you had not met him sooner?
Oh yeah. What could I have done? You know, we had some good training sessions. Neil's got a good lot of knowledge, man. He stores it up there, and he doesn't. He pretends like he doesn't know much. But what could I have done? Nah, nothing else, man. By the time I met Neil, I was already on the way down, man. I was already on the way down. So
The next question
yeah.
from Peter Aitken, and you kind of touched on this before, but he was asking if you still do this. Are you still doing seminars, coaching outside Muay Thai boxing individuals, corporates on resilience?
Yes, yeah, I'm doing, I'm doing an interesting one this weekend. I'm doing a seminar at a stunt gym.
Oh,
So there's a gym in LA not too far away where a couple of stunt people train that I know, and they've invited me to do a seminar there. So I've been doing some more work around the stunt industry and sort of teaching stunt men and women how to do Muay Thai and what it looks like and how to make it look better and how to apply it to their, to their jobs. So I'm doing that, and then the corporate company I co-founded is still going strong. I've got most of our clients are in Europe, so I'm still doing that. So if there are anyone's interested, please hit me up. Most of our clients are in Europe, and I've got a team of people on board now. So we've now diversified with more different athletes from different sports, which is great. We've got like my friend who helped co-found it is a high-level mountaineer and ultra runner. He used to run ultras. And then I've got Shane O'Neill, European Muay Thai champ. Um, Sak Sak Nakami as well. He's involved. And then we have a cave diver, like a scuba diving cave diver, with really interesting perspective on things. So we're still doing it. So if there's anyone interested, I'm not there personally for a lot of it, just because it's a bit too far of a commute
yeah, yeah.
for for the small
Well,
ones. Yeah,
I'll put when I did the description of the show, we'll put all the details and that. So if anyone's interested,
cool,
have all that there.
awesome.
And then a question from Steve T. Swift. We know Steve, your client and my former client.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Steve and Nadia. Can you remember your first fight and the feelings or flashbacks you have of it?
Yeah, first ever fight. I think my first interclub it goes so quick, man. It's just
Mm.
don't remember much at all. I don't remember what I did. I remember coming out of the ring and people telling me what I did, and I was like, did I do that? Really? Like, boom. But my first ever like fight without shin pads, like the C class or whatever. That was yeah, I remember that one. I actually lost that one to one of the Lumpini Crawley guys. I didn't really know how to train properly, so I was tired. I was tired. I was just skipping. I didn't know about doing road work. I didn't know how much I needed to run and pads and bags and everything. I was just learning. So I got tired, and I was the most tired I've ever been. Yeah, yeah. 3 2-minute rounds, exhausted, exhausted.
Yeah.
I could barely stand up at the end. I was like hanging off my coach. I was hanging off. He was like, stand up. But that one, yeah, I just think like back when you're that tired, your brain is saying something, and your body just does not compute.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, that was the first one.
I have a question from David Abraham. He touched on the Saenchai thing, but another question is, how did you deal with loss, and what did you do next to move forward from that?
Yeah, I think there's a good saying that you learn more from losing than you do from winning. So um, we had a good rule in the gym, and David used to implement it. It's like 48 hours, so 2 days after the fight, whether you win, whether you lose, you go out, you celebrate, you commiserate, you do what you want, you eat what you want, and then you come back in the gym, and then we have a reflection, and you analyze it, you learn things from. But yeah, when you do that and you do it quite objectively, that's a massive learning point, and it dictates the next part of training. But I think getting knocked out was a difficult one because that rocks your confidence badly. When you lose like a fight on points or something, it's okay because you can learn and you're adapting. But when you get knocked out, it takes away a lot of confidence, and you think it can happen again, and it's scary in that sense. So that one was a real difficult one. You almost have to rebuild yourself. You sort of got to check, and especially if you lose a few on the bounce. I think I lost 4 fights in total. Um, yeah, 4 fights, and then maybe one or two in amateurs. But each time you lose, you got to like, yeah, it's a real test really to sort of look within yourself. What can you learn? What can you improve? And it tests your resolve really. So,
Um, question from Harry Ramamurthy. I have to be careful. I got told I've got to say that name properly. What can a shorter fighter do against a taller fighter? If you haven't gathered, Harry's not your tallest guy.
Yeah, the shorter people, man, well, either they need to be really explosive, like very fast, in and out, good footwork. Um, and then the typical things will be like good low kicks, nice overhands, looping shots, good catches.
Mm.
So like good footwork, good like circling, moving around, being able to catch kicks and pull them in and sweep them and things there. But I would spend, yeah, I watch people like Tiffany Van Soest. She's a good fighter to watch for that. I'd watch some of the what's the Greek guy again? Zambidis, Mike Zambidis.
And leadership.
Obviously, he's got a thing there. Yeah. And then we watch some more technical. I'd watch a bit more kickboxers because traditional Muay Thai doesn't favor shorter people in general. So I'd watch the way that kickboxers sort of move around and use distance and stuff.
Mm.
I study them a little bit more.
Question from Dan Nicholas. What are the traits and skills that you have acquired as a fighter that you are leveraging still these days?
Yeah.
Mm.
Definitely just the ability to work hard. I think, there's a time when you to be a fighter when you can tap in and you push yourself beyond what you need to. So, I don't really need to tap in too often, but if you're having a long day and this and that, or you've had a bad night's sleep and stuff there, it just makes it makes you a bit tougher and more resilient
Yeah.
when you need to get things done. So that's one that you can tap into. Um, thinking under pressure, thinking under pressure. So that is one that again, nothing's going to be as pressurized as someone trying to knock you out in a fight and things. So everything else seems a lot easier to deal with on the whole. So like being able to think under pressure, and then what else would I say that I'm still utilizing? All the skills I learned as a fighter and as a coach. I'm still utilizing that as a coach there. But I think also when you're an athlete, it doesn't necessarily apply specifically to fighters, but anyone that's been an athlete, they're way more in tune with their body. So they're way more in tune with energy levels. Basically, we are machines to a certain extent. So it's like a lot of people, they put terrible fuel in for years and years and years and get serious illnesses and stuff. But I think as fighters, because we've had to watch our diet and get the best physical performance, we know how to take care of our bodies and fuel ourselves better. We take care of it on one side, but then we also just smash it to pieces with sparring and pads and hard
Mm.
training. But in general, we know how to have good energy levels and do that. So I think the body awareness about how to look after ourselves is another key skill.
I mean, it just made me think of saying like what you were saying about transition of work ethic of probably the best bit of advice I ever had in my life, and I can't remember who said it to me, but they said if you dedicated as much time, energy, will, and determination to your career as you did to your fighting, there's little chance you could not succeed. And I did
Mm-hmm.
to open up 2 gyms, so
Yeah.
so I kind of took that advice quite seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Question from Sam McRae. Out of all, there's only 2 more questions, but then I've got quick fire questions, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
So, question from Sam McRae. Out of all the elements required in the process to fight, shadow boxing, pad work, skipping, bag work, drill work, if you could choose 2 elements to use for a fight, which 2 would it be?
Ooh, sparring, sparring. Yeah, sparring. I'd say that's most important because none of it applies without that. And then Maybe running and sparring. You might not be the strongest, but you have skills. Yeah, yeah.
And then the last question was from Alex Cousin. Just prior to the fight, say in the change room, what was your mental process?
Yeah, that was so just prior to the fight. Like, is it, the fight day is a whole process building up to that moment, and you're slowly sort of ramping up and building a fire. So imagine you're building a fire. You don't want to build it too early because it will burn out. If you build it, you get too hyped up too early on in the day. By the time the fight comes, you're exhausted.
Mm.
So you got to sort of keep it there, keep the embers there, and you build it up, and then you're warming up, technical warm up, getting the body prepped, getting the mind prepped, and then before you go, you want it to be as burning, as bright as you can. So there was a lot of mental things I would do, like to keep the fire down from the stress and things of the event. Would be like I do some breathing exercises, meditation. I often try and take a nap during the thing to stay away from stress. So like sitting in the changing rooms is a stressful thing because people are coming in beat up and busted and whacking pads and high energy, and that all affects us. So I try and take myself somewhere quiet, relax, peaceful, breathe, meditate, chill, watch one or two fights, come and chill, and then start to build in the warm up. And then by the time before the fight goes, I used to I'd get whoever was cornering me, I'd get them to like smack me around with the pads, boom, 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 and then your legs, everything feels like you've been hit already, and you're ready to go. So that was my process.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I wanted to sort of create a little tradition on my show, and I've got these quick fire questions. Uh, so I'll
Cool.
just run them off, and then I'll let you. I know you got to go. So, um, what's your favorite martial art film?
Might still be Enter the Dragon. Yeah, Enter the Dragon. Yeah, that was hard. That was hard.
And then might follow this one. And what's your favorite martial art actor of all time?
Um, don't know. I did like Tony Jaa a lot, man, with the Ong Bak series and things. Yeah, what he was doing, and like, because I was so into Muay Thai as well, I could recognize some of the stuff going on. So maybe it's Tony Jaa. Yeah.
What's the most surprising and unexpected thing that's happened to you in the last year?
Um, Most surprising and unexpected thing. Hey, this is quite a tricky one for a quick fire.
It was,
Um,
wasn't it? Sorry, yeah.
yeah. I have to pass on that one.
Cool.
Sorry, mate.
What's your go-to comfort food?
Go-to comfort foods. Um, I don't like roasts, but I do love roast potatoes. I've been having a lot of roast potatoes lately. Yeah. Roast potatoes, Yorkshire puddings, and gravy. I don't really like a roast. Other than that, no, no, no. Take it back. Thai food, man. Thai food all the time. Yeah, I love sticky rice and mango. So the sweet dessert, like a curry, a Penang curry, and a sticky rice and mango. Yeah.
Nice. What do you miss most about the UK?
The people, man, the people, the diversity and the public transport and the mixing of cultures and walking around and the high street, walking down the high street and just seeing everybody and feeling, yeah, it's a nice feeling, man. Whereas most times here, I'm just driving everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still see it in bits, but yeah.
Do you miss the English weather?
The season sometimes I'm looking at the trees and be like, it'd be nice to see those red trees and it'd be nice to see those green spring trees. But it's like 2 weeks, 2 weeks of like 3 times a year or twice a year. So not much, no. No.
What's your favorite thing about LA?
Um, the natural beauty, the nature surrounding it. The natural beauty, yeah, that's got to be one. Like, see, sometimes I'm just driving home from work and I'm seeing sunsets, and I feel so grateful to be seeing those sunsets. Man. I used to save up for all year to go on holiday a couple of times to see sunsets like that, and then the accessibility to nature, the plants, the wildlife, the trees, yeah. So the natural beauty, yeah.
What's your favorite book?
Of all time.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe a Roald Dahl book, one of the children's books. Yeah. Roald Dahl and Quentin Blake, we were a formidable duo. Yeah, the illustrator. Maybe yeah, I don't know, man. Or Hunter S. Thompson. Rum Diaries, Hunter S. Thompson. Yeah, I've read that a few times. Yeah.
What's your favorite place to travel to?
I like going new places, honestly. Yeah, I like going new places. And then, nah, like probably Cornwall, actually. Cornwall. So when I was younger, we used to go there once a year. And there's just a ruggedness to the British countryside and the British coastline. And it's familiar. So that's probably my favorite place to go to again and again. Yeah.
Last question. What one thing can't you live without?
Um, I'd say at the moment it's movement. Yeah, if I'm not moving, I feel like, yeah, if I'm not moving, I struggle. It's very difficult. If I'm not training, if I'm not moving, if I'm not, yeah, that's very difficult. So yeah, movement. Yeah,
Cool. Greg, thanks so much, man. I
great.
really
Of
appreciate you
course, no
taking the time.
worries.
Thanks for being patient with me and my questions.
Yeah, of course, mate.
It's a process of learning, and hopefully, as I evolve
Yeah.
and get better at this, I can have you back for another conversation.